built in swampland, just like they did in their country. They came in, they put up a mud wall, they dug a canal, installed pumps. Swampland became dry land, and as that rich, organic, alluvial soil began to shrink and subside, it went below sea level. So 4.5 feet below sea level is the average height of New Orleans today. And New Orleans is a city that is constrained by water in every direction. You got swamps and marshes to the south. We have Lake Pontchartrain to the north. We got swamps and marshes to the west. We got lakes and marshes to the east. So no matter what direction you go, you find water. The French once called New Orleans the island of Orleans. Now, coming up ahead of us here, we'll be crossing the Industrial Canal. This is the canal where the water came from Lake Pontchartrain, pushed down the levee wall, and actually pushed the wall in, creating a catastrophic flooding event. This area here simply flooded from levee breaks along the lakefront where water migrated its way toward the river. Now, up ahead of us here, as we go up on the bridge and we look down, you'll be able to see a piece of the old levee wall on this side of the canal. Now, around here, the levee wall that was built in 1960s was built after Hurricane Betsy, which also was another bad hurricane, which caused some flooding. They built the walls up to control a Category 3 hurricane. The problem is that the Category 3 hurricane walls sunk to Category 2 level levee walls. So these walls actually sunk from 1960s to the year 2005, almost 2 feet. Down below us here is the wall that was almost topped for Hurricane Gustav and Hurricane Ike. Now you can imagine water getting within 6 inches of going over the top of the wall for Gustav and Ike a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Over here to the left of us, you can see where the new wall replaces the one that fails. This is the lower 9th Ward. This is the area where the flood wall broke, and the force of the water was so great that houses were simply floated off their foundations. The houses that you see right around the bridge here survived only because they wasn't in a direct path of the flooding waters. Over to the left of us, you can see a memorial to the lower 9th Ward residents. The memorial over here to the left of us was dedicated August 29, 2006, the 1-year anniversary of Katrina. As you look at the blue poles there, the highest blue pole is where the water was. So they had somewhere around 13 feet of water here. Now if you shoot that across over here to the house, you can see only the roof was showing. In this area here, the lower 9th Ward, over 440 people drowned as a result of the levee break. When we first started coming down here, they had houses that had floated and the tree branches had caught them in the middle of the street here. There were actually whole houses that were sitting off their foundations in the middle of the median. Over to the right of it, you can see the old house here that did not float. This is made out of bricks. You can still see debris sitting on the roof from the floodwaters. By the way, can you believe that all that flooding and the pecan tree survived? That's a pecan tree. You see they actually got the thorns on it. All these vacant lots, all these driveways was somebody's house pre-Katrina. Occupancy in this area is somewhere about 10%. This area did not have electricity to January of '07. That was 16 months post-Katrina. But they had so much debris in here. They had fields of debris, sometimes 2 to 3 feet thick. And it took them almost 2.5 years to finish the cleanup process. As you can see the sign here, make it right, number 9. 9 stands for the 9th Ward. Make it right is a foundation that Brad Pitt began. It is a foundation that is building houses for residents of the lower 9th Ward. It's called Make It Right. Some of these houses that were rebuilt after Katrina were actually built by church groups that came down here. It'd be group after group that would come down here and complete a project under the administration of the Habitat for Humanity. The old church up ahead of us here has had numerous church groups come in and clean it, paint it, repair it. But a church without people is no church. Without a lot of people living here, it's difficult to get more people to come back, because would you want to be the only person on your block living in a house? Church groups would come here, they would take an old house like you see right here, and they would gut it. If you look inside the door, all you see is 2x4s. What they do is they take everything on the inside, put it outside, they treat it for mold, and then they rebuild. But that only works if somebody wants to come back. Now, many years back, when this place was flooded after Katrina, and they had 12, 13 feet of water, it was difficult to find people that had survived inside the houses, because what they did was they crawled into the attics, and they sometimes would be trapped in attic. So when these rescuers will look at the people that had went into the attics to escape the flooding, they took chainsaws and they cut holes in the roof like you see right there. They cut a hole in there, and they would stick their head in, and they'd start yelling, "Is anybody in there?" And then they would use their nose to see if anybody had drowned it. Now, the house that you see over there is what they call a pre-manufactured home that is supposed to be hurricane wind resistant. It's supposed to be guaranteed to 120 mile-an-hour winds. Anything built here has to be hurricane wind resistant. Even the volunteer houses had to be that way. Now, make no mistake about it, the average height of the city of New Orleans is 4.5 feet below sea level. But as you look up ahead of us here, this is the flood wall that replaced the old one. The old flood wall was 9.5 feet high. This flood wall is 13 feet high. And this flood wall that you see right here, if you go on the other side, water is about a foot below the bottom of the wall. The flood wall. Does anybody want to get out and go get a picture next to the wall? Anybody want to get a picture next to the wall?
Yeah.